Alrighty. Thank you everyone for being here today. We greatly appreciate it. I am Hallie Crawford. I am a certified career coach, speaker, and author based in Atlanta, Georgia. I have been coaching and training for just over 18 years. It will be 18 years in a couple of weeks, actually. And I'm thrilled to be here with you today to talk with you about what do you do when it's time for a new job, whether it's time for a career change, or whether you've been laid off due to downsizing or whatever's going on for you. What do you do? What are the first 6 steps that you need to take in order to get your job search going? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's go ahead and dive in here. Just as a quick admin item, I want to remind you all that this is being recorded and you will receive a copy of the recording after we're finished today. If we have time for about a minute at the end for Q&A, I will do that and host that with you all. This presentation is a little bit longer, so we'll see if we have time for that. But please know that if you do have questions that did not get answered today, whether you put them in the chat box or you think of questions afterwards, that's fine too. Feel free to just email those to me at admin@halliecrawford.com, and I would be happy to share those with you, or answer those questions for you, I should say. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here with what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to give you 6 specific steps to help you jumpstart your job search, okay? And what I want you to know, everyone, is that this is relevant regardless of whether you're looking for a new career direction or you're just looking for a new job for whatever reason, okay? Just as a quick housekeeping reminder as well, just a reminder that your phones are muted. Everyone is going to be on mute so that it's easy for everyone to hear me clearly. And as I said at the end, if you have questions that we do not get to, go ahead and enter any questions you have in the chat box. If we don't get to them, though, please feel free to email those to me at admin@halliecrawford.com. Happy to share those with you. So here's the deal, everyone. What we understand, because we've been coaching for so long, for 18 years, is obviously that job searching can be very overwhelming for a lot of people, and we totally get that. We see this in our clients all the time. And these are some of the common reasons on this first slide here why we find our job seekers can be overwhelmed. There's new technology out there. How do I leverage LinkedIn? And do I do anything with Facebook or anything else? We can also have information overload, like there's just too much information we can actually find online, which can be very helpful to us, but at the same time, that can be overwhelming in and of itself, as well as, you know, friends and family giving us advice all the time about it too. It's also overwhelming, understandably, because there are so many steps that you need to take to really conduct an effective job search. And often we can feel like there's not enough time to, you know, get a job. We need to get one so quickly. And we have found that a lot of our clients are just unsure how to use their time wisely. They're like, can you just give me, you know, a standard template for a schedule daily and weekly for my job search, okay? And we are going to give you one of those tools that you can email us for as we go today. So it's understandable that it's overwhelming. Please know that you're not alone if it feels this way for you, okay? One of the studies last year showed that 43% of Americans, because job searching can be so overwhelming, they just give up on the job search, okay? For most of us, that's not a realistic option. We have to keep looking, obviously, because our jobs pay our bills and we need them. So just again, reminder to you that you're not alone and this is understandable. And this is part of why, you know, networking events for job seekers are so prevalent and important, because when you have the support of a group and assistance of them, of other people, not only do you not feel alone, but you get additional advice. Okay, so that's why we're talking about what we're talking about today, because we want this to not be you. We don't want you to feel overwhelmed in your search. Hold on one second, everybody. I apologize. My dog has decided to play with the squeaky toy, of course, which is what he usually does when I'm on the phone here. So we are going to help you not be overwhelmed, or at least be a little bit less overwhelmed in your search. These are the 6 essential steps that we are going to cover today for our agenda. The first step is you have to identify your goals for your job search and understand what your brand is, and obviously be able to communicate that. You need to revise your resume and LinkedIn profile as some basic first steps. Develop an elevator speech or a pitch that is very effective and memorable. We want you to start networking. We want you to conduct informational interviews. And obviously, you need to finalize your strategy at the end, kind of bring all of these steps and pieces together so that you can develop, okay, here's what my daily schedule and weekly schedule is for my job search, Okay, so let's dive in with step number one, identifying your goals and your brand. Okay, one of the things I want you all to think about, and you may have noticed there's a handout in our chat box there, so please feel free to download that now or later. It has some tips on there and helps you follow along for today. But one of the things I want you to think about, we're not going to do this poll live, but do you know what kind of job that you're looking for? You need to be really clear. This may seem obvious, but we have had plenty of clients come to us and say, okay, I want my resume done and I want you to revise it, in the next few days. But when we ask them, are they clear about what jobs they're searching for and can they give us, a few job descriptions? Sometimes they say, no, I'm not really sure, or here are the 4 different kinds. You can't tailor your resume to 4 different types of jobs, okay? You need to have 1, worst case, 2 positions or 2 types of positions that you're going for. So make sure, especially if this is you and you're not sure what your direction is, make sure that you take a look at this slide and work through our ideal career model. So on the slide here, this is the ideal career model that we use with all of our clients. This is something that I developed early on in my coaching career about 16 years ago when I realized that, we couldn't just sit around asking people questions all day long in terms of helping them find their career direction. We needed something tangible for them to latch on to and to understand. This ideal career model, basically, everyone, shows you the 8 things that you need to consider in order to know the right career path for you. So start to think about, okay, what is your ideal job? And someone said they can't see the slides. Thank you for telling me that. Let me just make sure that we are okay. Great. Please let me know if you still cannot see them. It should be okay now. Hold on. Okay, there we go. I apologize. Thank you all for letting me know that. Sometimes I'm good with technology, sometimes not. Again, please let me know, everyone, if you cannot see our slides for any reason, and I will make sure I get that fixed, but you should now. So these 8 pieces of the model are the things that you need to leverage or use as kind of a checklist for yourself to say, okay, what is my ideal career path? You identify what's going to be fulfilling and rewarding to you. You look and think about what would be the top or most enjoyable tasks that I want to perform in my ideal job. You need to understand what your strengths are, your past experience and education, and how you want to leverage that for your ideal job. You need to understand what your personality type is. Are you more introverted or extroverted? And what does that mean for the type of role that you should play? And then finally, the last 2 pieces of the model are work environment and making sure you're in the right corporate culture with the right values, et cetera, and also what compensation you deserve and want to have to pay your bills and everything else. So in order to help you define your goal, or even if you think you know your goal, everyone, I want you to make sure that you're very, very clear about what it is by using this model as a checklist to say, okay, these are the pieces, are the career paths I'm considering, do they incorporate all of these pieces? This is your checklist to make sure that that's the case, or to help you brainstorm career ideas, okay? So here's the deal with this one. Let's take a look at this next slide here. Hold on one second, everybody. Okay, there we go. Identifying your brand. So after you have established goals for, and you know what career path you're going for, what jobs you want to apply for, you need to identify and understand what your brand is. Your brand can be a combination, or should be a combination, of all of these 3 items on the slides here. Your values, your passions and interests. Why are you interested in the industry or the job that you're going for? Employers want people that want their job, that are going to be enthusiastic and, motivated in the position that they're in. So it's perfectly okay, and we do want you to include in your brand why you're passionate about or interested or engaged in your industry. The second piece you absolutely have to have is what your strengths are, what your education is, and what your background and experience is that qualifies you and uniquely qualifies you for the jobs that you're applying for. And then finally, you also want to have your soft skills in there and your personality type. So for example, because I am more extroverted, I tend to establish relationships very quickly and easily. And I'm able to meet with and connect and network with a lot of people in any given day, versus introverted might be a different, set of strengths, okay? So include your hard skills, everyone, in your brand. I know the software, everything else, but also include your soft skills as well. Those intangible things like your work ethic, your ability to be a great leader, working with a team, all of that goes into your branding statement, okay? As part of developing or to help you develop your branding statement, you can also look at and use the model like we talked about before, but in a different way this time. What's fulfilling and rewarding to you like we talked about? What are the tasks that you enjoy? And as part of those tasks, what are the results you achieve for other people? Remember, with your elevator speech, it's always about the results that you achieve or can achieve for a certain set of people, whatever that is in terms of your job and your industry, okay? You also want to take a look at your strengths, your education, your experience, and your personality type again. This, again, is helping you identify who you are in terms of your brand so that you can communicate that effectively. And the final tip for branding is to check your online presence. So as a separate line item here, you also need to make sure you Google yourself, you review all of your social media, make sure everything's appropriate, as well as LinkedIn. Do you have a good photo? You don't have your pet in your photo or anything else. It needs to be professional and a head-on, straight-on shot. 70% of employers, everyone, say that they have turned down candidates because of something that they found that was negative online. So you need to understand what your online footprint is in order to be sure that your brand is not just being promoted, that you're promoting it effectively and that you understand it, but that to the outside world, they're not going to find something that would be inappropriate. Okay, if you feel like, by the way, any of you need additional assistance identifying what your brand is, please feel free to contact us at admin@halliecrawford.com. I would be happy to chat with you a little bit more about our services and whether they would be a fit for you. These are some of the quotes that we have received or testimonials from some of our clients, and our clients have received or landed positions at organizations. These are some of the examples. I schedule, and I'm happy to schedule, a complimentary consultation with anyone who needs to, who would like to get some additional advice from today, but also to learn more about our services. So step number 2 is revise your resume and LinkedIn. This is obviously a critical piece. But here are some tips that sometimes people forget, okay? Remember that your cover letter, your resume, and your profile should all represent and communicate your brand. You want to double check that from writing your branding statement like we talked about a moment ago. A few tips for all of these items: check the formatting, make sure that there's consistency in the formatting throughout your resume and cover letter. Use a lot of white space. I've seen this a lot lately with recent new clients. They've got these really dense resumes and there's not enough margin and it's just kind of hard to read. So you want to make sure that you use enough white space on your resume so that it looks pleasing to the eye and it's easy enough for them to scan. And you want to make sure that the header, the font, and everything else is consistent with between your cover letter and your resume. Those should be the same and kind of go together and match. You want to make sure that you include keywords that employers would be searching for. This goes on your LinkedIn profile as well. And obviously, like we said, mention your marketable results. Each time you have a bulleted list under your jobs, make sure that you talk about the results, not just, oh, I performed these tasks. Write out what the results were with each bulleted item. And make sure, everyone, by the way, that you have a summary at the top of your resume that sells you effectively why they should consider continuing to read on, okay? With your LinkedIn profile, by the way, your summary at the top can be a little bit more personal. We talked about the professional photo, measurable results already. Get recommendations on your LinkedIn profile. You can do that by asking certain people that are connected to you on LinkedIn. You can ask them for those recommendations. And by the way, we have seen people use LinkedIn recommendations on their resume. I actually like that a lot. It's a third-party endorsement, and what could be better? Keywords, like we said. And by the way, everyone, on LinkedIn now, under your settings, and I think it is under profile settings, but it's under privacy settings on the far right. There is a box that you can now check to say, I want to be viewed by employers or recruiters, so that your profile is not hidden from them, but they know that you're looking for a job. And make sure, finally, everyone, that you have someone proofread all of these items. It's too easy when you look at something so often, it's too easy to miss little misspellings. I always find just little kind of small errors that clients never see just because they've been looking at it so often. Creating a solid resume and LinkedIn profile, it's absolutely worth the effort. And you have to tailor your resume to every single job. People ask us that all the time. And yes, you absolutely have to. When you have a very good resume, you shouldn't have to adjust the whole thing every time. If you have it written by someone else or if you do it yourself, it should just be minor adjustments that you make in your summary, in the bullet points, or even in your skills and qualifications, by the way. So that's one way that you know if your resume is well written, is if it's easy enough to tailor to each job. If you take a look at the bottom here, this demonstrates, or these statistics demonstrate, why having a strong resume and LinkedIn profile is so important, okay? Only about 5 applicants, as you all know, earn an interview from hundreds of applications, and your resume can help make the difference between you getting that interview versus not. Okay, let's take a look at the next slide here. I wanted to remind you all that yes, you will be getting a recording of the presentation, but please, if any of you would like to have a copy of our slides so that you don't feel like you have to be frantically, writing everything down, totally understand that. Please feel free to email us at admin@halliecrawford.com for a copy of the presentation. We'd be happy to give that to you. All right, so step number 3 is to develop your elevator pitch. And we started to talk about that just a few minutes ago about, oh, sorry about that, about in terms of, having your elevator speech, but also your resume and everything else. It needs to be very results oriented, not just a list of tasks and not just who you are as a professional. So an elevator pitch or speech is about 150 words. It lasts, about the length of an elevator ride, which is why it's called that. It should spotlight, remember, the uniqueness and the benefits that you provide, the results, like we've already talked about, okay? And it needs to be memorable. This is the other thing that people tend to forget. You don't want it to just be some kind of standard ho-hum thing that people are going to forget the next second when they walk away. So you want to have something that's catchy that really catches their attention about the results that you provide, okay? I heard one once that was great. I'm the divorce attorney that helps people solve their, the end of their marriage amicably. That's, it's a sad situation, obviously, but that's something that we all know is usually a tough situation. So if that person can help solve that problem like that, fantastic. So I want you to ask yourself right now how effective you think, number 1, do you even have an elevator pitch? And number 2, how effective do you really think it is, okay? So write down as one of your action items, if you think you need to work on this, this needs to be one of the main things that you get started on right away. I will tell you all as we go to the next slide here, when I do presentations or workshops and we go around the room and everyone gives us their elevator speech, normally only about 13% of the people really truly have an effective, correct elevator speech, okay? These are the steps that you would take to get started on writing it. You want to know and identify your target audience. You have to write down your deliverables, write them all down, and then you can pick and choose what would be the 2 most memorable. Choose an opening sentence that grabs their attention, and then obviously practice it in the mirror. This sounds corny and hokey pokey. It's a really important piece though, because if you don't say or deliver your elevator speech effectively and confidently, it's not going to work as well. Take a look at these 2 examples on these next 2 slides. One example of a good elevator pitch is I help government agencies and private companies navigate through the environmental compliance minefield. I deliver results for my clients. My projects are always completed on budget and on time. That's one example from one of our clients, okay? And another one, as a marketing consultant, I help people and companies write about their products, services, and personal victories so that they can get their amazing stories out into the marketplace. Everyone has an illuminating story to tell. That's memorable, okay? So those are some good examples of your elevator speech. We're halfway there through the course of our presentation today, okay? So one of the things that I wanted to, remind you about when you're thinking about your job search is, again, we want to look at who are you, your brand, everything else. We want you to think about where you're going, what your goals are. What is your timeline for your job search? When do you want to have that next job? Set a goal and a date for yourself, even if you have to change it. It's better to have something down and change it than nothing, okay? And finally, we're talking about today, obviously, how will you get there, okay? Step number 4 to help you start to get the job after you've organized your materials is networking. 60 to 70% of jobs out there are found and or secured through networking, everybody. The hidden job market is so critical. And by the way, it still is, even with, the internet and LinkedIn and everything else. Networking is still the best way that people get jobs. LinkedIn is the first thing you need to be focused on. You want to leverage your LinkedIn profile and your network first. Facebook is also relevant and becoming more so. I have had clients have separate groups of friends just specifically for their job search, and they network with those people through Facebook. And I've had people reference that, hey, I'm looking for a new job, and they'll post that to Facebook, and they've gotten interviews that way. Meetup.com is another way to find and identify networking groups that you could attend in your local area. Also remember, everyone, for networking purposes and to expand your network and your reach, check out your alumni association. I've had clients even from high school have effective or really good alumni associations. We usually think of college, but it could be both, just by the way. You also want to take a look at industry-specific associations too. If you're not a member of your current industry association, join it. If you're looking to make a career shift, I would join the industry association that is for the industry that you're trying to get into, okay? And finally, it is true, even though it's cliche, I know, that networking can happen anywhere. In social groups, we've had clients get interviews from being in a wedding and, you know, meeting with the brides or talking with the bride's uncle or just running into him, whatever it is. So realize too that social groups are places to do this as well. We had a client who moved down to Atlanta from Boston. And one of the things he did was he went to a Boston Red Sox viewing party at a bar one night. He came home with a list of 10 job openings that were not yet advertised for a bank that one of the people there knew about and, you know, shared with him. So you just never know where networking can happen. So I want you to think about, and kind of on a scale of 1 to 5 right now, everyone, how good is your LinkedIn profile and how well are you leveraging effectively LinkedIn for yourself? Okay, for your job search. 5 being fantastic, I'm doing a great job with this, 1 being not so hot. And if yours is closer to a 1, you need to start using LinkedIn more effectively. We talked about groups on the past or the previous slide. Networking effectively, we want you ideally to join 2 or 3 groups at least, everyone, whether it's social groups, alumni associations. A lot of alumni associations, by the way, have LinkedIn groups as well. You need to participate regularly enough that you're going to get something out of it. And we would suggest, if you are still working full-time, connect with at least 2 to 3 new people every month. If you are not working full-time, we want that to be every single week. And by the way, you need to be strategic with each person that you're networking with. Don't just call someone up or meet with them without thinking about, you know, the meeting in advance. What would you like to get from them? How can they best support and help you? And what can you do to assist them? Spend a few minutes before that meeting, each meeting that you have and each networking event. Don't just go into it blindly and haphazardly. You will not be as effective if you don't. Step number 5 is to conduct informational interviews. This is a piece or a part of networking, everyone. Informational interviews, by the way, are not just for recent college grads. We have had senior level executives conduct informational interviews, even if they didn't call them that. They just, you know, asked for a few minutes to talk. So it is not just for recent college grads. It goes for any age. It's a one-on-one conversation, whether it's in person, over the phone, or Skype, with someone who works in an industry that you would like to work in, at a company or organization that you are interested in, or in a role that is appealing to you. It could be any one of those 3 items, okay? The informational interview basics, we're just going to give you a couple of quick tips here. You want to start with people that you know, obviously, to get those warm leads, people that will be more likely to get back with you and give you their time, okay? You want to be specific and let them know that you are not asking them for a job, but you are asking them for information about how to put your best foot forward in your search. You can actually say that to them. I'd like to learn more about what your organization looks for or is important to them and their employees, and how can I put my best foot forward in my search. You want to be absolutely professional with this informational interview because you want them to refer you to other people, and always follow up. At the bare minimum, write them a handwritten thank you note. I prefer that because we don't get those as much these days. So make sure that you get their address in some way, shape, or form. Okay, if you don't have their address, their hard copy or mailing address, it's okay to send an email, worst case scenario. Step number 6 is to establish your strategy. So after you have gotten your materials together, you've started to get the ball rolling with networking, you've joined a few groups, you want to then decide, okay, what is my daily and weekly strategy for my job search, and set a schedule for yourself. okay? Stay organized. Don't make this harder on yourself than it already is. Set up those job alerts so that you're getting on a regular basis job openings that would be appealing to you, and you can apply to them. But even more so, you would then want to go look in your network and say, okay, do I know anyone, or can I identify anyone who works at this organization, okay? Update your voicemail on your cell phone. It needs to sound professional. Make sure that you sound professional and confident. People tend to forget this. Create a job search specific email address with a signature line that is always going to be there, that has all of your information, including your elevator speech at the bottom, your LinkedIn profile, a copy of your website, whatever is appropriate there, whatever you have. Create a job search email address that is not hokey and sounds professional and just has your name and that's it. And also have that standard signature line. I like having people place their headshot in their signature line as well, because remember everybody, people hire a person, they don't hire a piece of paper. If you're not comfortable with that, that's okay, but that's something that I do think helps to help employers or prospective employers connect with you. And finally, in terms of your schedule and your strategy, you want to make sure you include time for self-care, because job searching can be stressful. It can be very emotional, the highs and lows of it. So make sure you include that self-care. At the bottom here of this slide, everybody, we have a job search worksheet that actually gives you in pre-filled out tabs the things that you need to be doing for your job search on a regular basis, okay? So it will help you with your strategy and your schedule enormously, because all you have to do every Sunday night or Monday morning is open that up, and you've got all the steps that you took last week, and you know what you need to do for this week. Highly recommend just email us at that. We're happy to give you that pre-filled out worksheet. It's in Excel, okay, and ready to go for you. All right, so before we we may have a couple minutes here for Q&A. Please feel free to add us or email us at admin@halliecrawford.com if you have any additional questions about this presentation or this topic or anything else you need to know about your career search or your career goals. I would be happy to give any of you a free career strategy session to give you specific advice on your goals and your needs, because I understand that we attend these webinars and they're helpful and give us good advice, but they're kind of general, obviously, across the board. And it's easier for me to give very specific, individualized advice when someone is able to explain, their unique situation to me. So I'd be happy to do that. Just email us at admin@halliecrawford.com. All right, so let's do Q&A here for just a moment. You all should be able to see the chat box under the More on your taskbar or toolbar there for Zoom. There are 3 little dots and it says More, and there's the chat feature right there. Please feel free to ask any questions. I will give us just a moment to do that. And then if we don't have any, or if you think of something afterwards, like I said, please feel free to just email us, call me, whatever it is, and I'd be happy to talk with you. The source of the employer data. Yes, I would absolutely be happy to do that. It's easier for me to look it up, and I'll email it to you all as part of the recording. So I will make a note to do that. Usually, just by the way, we get our sources from the Gallup organization, as well as sources like Glassdoor.com and other kind of job search or career specific websites that provide this research. So I will write that down. And I know who asked the question, so I'll actually email it to you specifically. Thanks for asking. All right. Okay, everyone, we are at the top of the half hour at 1:30 Eastern. I want to be mindful of your time. Thank you so much again for being here today. We greatly appreciate it. Please feel free to email us again if you'd like a copy of the slides in addition to the recording. And stay tuned. We have another webinar coming up in March. Take a look at our next newsletter for what that topic is, and please feel free to sign up for that as well. I love doing these and happy to help you all. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks again.